I was sitting in the suffocatingly warm office of Principal Vance, listening to the hum of the overhead fluorescent lights. Vance leaned back in his leather chair, a patronizing smirk playing at the corners of his mouth, and slid a formal expulsion letter across the mahogany desk. My 14-year-old daughter, Chloe, was sitting next to me, staring at her shoes, her shoulders shaking with silent tears. Vance confidently declared that Chloe had orchestrated a cyber attack on the district's grading portal, altering her midterm scores, and that the school board had a zero-tolerance policy. He told me I should be disappointed in her and thankful they weren't pressing federal charges. What Vance didn't know was that my plain black laptop bag resting on the floor didn't just contain a notebook. It held a full, unredacted packet of network server logs that was about to end his entire career in education. Welcome back to Carter's Story Vault. If you've ever had a person in a position of power underestimate your intelligence to protect their own ego, hit that subscribe button because you are going to love this breakdown. Let me take you back to 2 weeks before that meeting. I am 35 years old, and I have raised Chloe entirely on my own since she was 3. I work a demanding night shift as a senior web developer and systems administrator. Because I spend my nights managing complex server architecture, databases, and custom back-end code, I sleep during the day. My home is completely outfitted with blackout window film and heavy drapes so I can recover. To the judgmental PTA parents and the staff at Oak Creek High, my unconventional schedule translated to me being an absent, uninvolved, deadbeat father. They rarely saw me at morning drop-offs, so they assumed I was a pushover. Chloe is a brilliant kid, but she is quiet, keeping mostly to herself and her digital art projects. Her silence made her a target for the principal's son, Trent. Trent was the golden boy of the school, captain of the lacrosse team, arrogantly loud and utterly shielded from consequences by his father. For months, Trent had been quietly bullying Chloe, making subtle, cruel comments about her clothes and her weird, absent dad. Chloe begged me not to make a scene, fearing it would only make the harassment worse. I respected her wishes, but I started keeping a meticulous, quiet record of every incident. The real trouble started on a Tuesday. I woke up at 2 in the afternoon to a frantic phone call from the school secretary. Chloe had been suspended pending an expulsion hearing. When I rushed to the school, Principal Vance sat me down and painted a devastating picture. He claimed the school's IT department had traced a breach in their grading portal directly to Chloe's student account. Grades had been inflated across 3 classes. Vance looked at me with fake sympathy and said it was a tragic case of a neglected child acting out for attention. I took Chloe home, sat her down at the kitchen table, and asked her for the truth. She looked me dead in the eye and swore she hadn't done it. She said Trent had bumped into her in the library the day before, intentionally spilling her bag, and she had left her laptop open on the desk for a few minutes while she cleaned up the mess. That was all I needed to hear. I didn't yell and I didn't call the school in a rage. Instead, I brewed a pot of dark roast coffee, opened up my Google Anti-Gravity IDE, and got to work. I know how school district networks are built. They are notoriously underfunded, usually running on outdated frameworks or poorly configured content management systems. Using a legal, publicly available network packet analyzer, I mapped the school's external portal. It took me less than 3 hours to discover that their grading software was running on an obsolete database with 0 rate limiting and virtually no session security. I drafted a formal, legally binding public records request to the district's IT superintendent. By law, they had to provide the raw access logs for the grading portal within 48 hours. When the encrypted file arrived in my inbox, I ran it through a custom PHP script to parse the data. The truth was glaringly obvious. Yes, Chloe's credentials were used to access the portal, but the session didn't originate from the school's IP address, nor did it come from our home network. The unauthorized access occurred at 8:45 p.m. on a Wednesday. At that exact time, Chloe was sitting across from me eating dinner.
I traced the originating IP address from the server logs. It resolved directly to a premium residential ISP account registered in a very specific upscale neighborhood. With a little more digging, I matched the MAC address from the login packet to a specific mobile device. It wasn't a laptop, it was a high-end gaming phone. Which brings us back to Principal Vance's office, the smirk on his face, and the expulsion letter sitting on the desk between us. "Mr. Vance," I said, my voice perfectly level, "before I sign anything, I need you to clarify something for the official record. You are stating that Chloe executed this breach from her device, correct?" "The digital footprint is undeniable," Vance said, leaning forward and steepling his fingers. "Our IT team was very thorough. I'm sorry, but boys like my Trent study hard for their grades. We can't let students like Chloe cheat the system." I didn't blink. I slowly unzipped my black bag and pulled out a bound stack of paper. "I agree completely," I said, sliding the packet across the mahogany desk, "which is why I pulled the raw server access logs from the district via a legal records request." Vance's smirk faltered slightly. He looked down at the complex strings of code, timestamps, and highlighted IP addresses. "If you look at page 3, I instructed, my tone icy and analytical, you will see the exact timestamp of the breach, 8:45 p.m. Chloe was at home with me. More importantly, look at the originating IP address." Vance's eyes scanned the page, and the color began to rapidly drain from his face. "I ran a trace on that IP," I continued, leaning in slightly. "It resolves to your home address, Mr. Vance. Furthermore, the MAC address associated with the device used to log into Chloe's stolen session belongs to a mobile gaming phone, the exact model your son Trent was showing off on his public social media profile last week." The silence in the room was absolute. The hum of the fluorescent lights suddenly sounded deafening. "You see, Trent didn't just frame my daughter, he did it from his bedroom using his own phone on your home Wi-Fi network. He used her session token after getting on her laptop in the library. It's a sloppy, amateur exploit, and you built an expulsion case on it to protect him." Vance opened his mouth, but no words came out. He looked like a man who had just stepped off a cliff and realized there was no ground beneath him. "Here is what's going to happen," I said, standing up and straightening my jacket. "You are going to rip up that expulsion letter right now. You are going to clear Chloe's record completely. Then you are going to call the school board and explain that you made a catastrophic error of judgment. Because if you do not, I will take these server logs, along with Trent's device footprint, straight to the superintendent, the school board, and the local news." Vance didn't argue. His hands were shaking as he picked up the expulsion letter and tore it in half. The next morning, Chloe was fully reinstated with a formal apology from the district. 2 weeks later, Principal Vance quietly resigned, citing personal family reasons, and Trent was transferred to a private school in another county. People will often mistake silence for weakness, especially when they think you don't fit the mold of a traditional successful parent. But you don't need to fit their mold to protect your family. You just need to have the data.